welcome to Just Breathe with Us, Living in the Flow. It was like Just Breathe is my session that I have the live session tomorrow, and I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, let's just breathe. and so. So, welcome to Living in the Flow with my precious dear sister, because we call each other sisters, Alexis and I, and where we share the flow of living the new earth. And we haven't been with you for a while, since July. Our last session had the special guests, Geoffrey and Linda Hoppy, and it was at the end of July, and we had our pause in August, and now we are back, and oh my god, do we have a lot to share. And now, just so you know, Alexis and I haven't had one single conversation since that time until now, so we don't know about each other's news either. So it's like friends getting together for a nice hot chocolate and just sharing what's going on in our flow. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget to visit our websites, alexissersha.com and inpassioncoaching.com. You'll find all of our info there. There's loads of stuff, loads of yummy, sparkling, beautiful things that we share. And now we are gonna go ahead. Oh, and by the way, thank you to all of you who regularly donate for us to keep this show going. Well, we'll keep it going anyway. But the thing is that your gifts are just so like chocolate cake. So thank you very much. Okay, over to you, Alexis.
And I want to say hello to everyone as well. Welcome to this monthly show again. Here we are. It's amazing how quickly it's all gone. But it's been such a full-on summer. I don't know. Summer for you over in Europe and North America, but for us, kind of our winter is a little bit summerish anyway. It's just been. I don't know how to even explain it. It was like diving deep into something. So, I don't know how you experience, or each one of you who are watching experience this, but for me, it kind of goes like, my soul sort of says, oh, are we ready for another experience? And the human goes, we kind of like it a bit quiet, it's been nice and quiet. It's been good. Let's just keep going this. Are you sure? You said you were a little bit bored. And the human says, I'm not that sure, because when you come with this kind of ideas, dear soul, I know that it always goes very deep and weird, and it goes to the full on 100% of what I can do. So I'm not kind of sure. And the soul says, oh, but I know how much you love the experience and adventure and everything. And the human says, let me think. Oh, we're falling deep. Oh, plunk. Oh, there's a bottom. Hello, is there anyone out there? That's kind of the
Totally, Alexis. So wonderfully put.
Where am I? Hello, so I can't hear you.
Totally, so accurate.
Kind of like this, and then it was very, very full on. Like for me, whenever it's a really intensity, for some people it's the body that experiences things. For me, it's the emotional intensity. So I get always, it felt like some kind of emotional amphora of darkness has opened.
Yeah.
I was just swept on this emotional full-on journey. And it's been a long time since it's been this kind of full-on, I must say. And I think like the outside reflects that, because we have so many planets in the retrograde, about eight, no,
Mm-hmm.
seven, plus some asteroids are also in retrograde. So some people say, okay, so which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that us created this comes first, or is it the planets that come first? I think those kind of questions are pointless. It just is,
Yeah, and in
you know,
fact, it's not happening just with you and me, it's happening at a
exactly.
planetary level. So,
Exactly. And so, yeah, for me, it was very emotionally like it felt like all of this kind of, it's like this Pandora box opened, and I was just swept. I just had to kind of swim and surf with it. Some parts were quite enjoyable, but some parts were very full on. And it's again that thing where, it doesn't matter how much you experience or how much you allow. I find that I always get to the 100% of where I am, regardless. It is in many ways humbling, and in many ways it's because you can't then say, wow, I really got this. It's got to do with that. I feel that it's got to do with that always surrendering a part of self, that human part of self, the mind, always surrendering and surrendering to that greater part, not greater in importance, but like the more, I don't know why,
ocean, to
yeah, the
that
ocean,
ocean.
exactly.
It's
And
like the river surrendering to the ocean
that's it. Yeah,
constantly.
that's a beautiful sort of way to say it. So that's kind of been for me, because like before that, my human self kind of felt really, oh, I've got this, like, and it kind of went into more that controlling part, not control it as in the old days, but it was this experience just to realize that, okay, this
It was a comfort
surrender.
zone in a sense, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay, now I've got this. And then,
yes.
okay, then let's go in for more.
Let's see how much you've got this. But I must say that, we really got this. Like, I've got this in the
Yeah.
sense that I come back then to self, to the center, to this beautiful self-love. One day it was just like, wow, this experience, this wild ride is done. I'm back on the more solid ground. And I've not gone into that kind of resentment or anger or any of those kind of things.
Yeah.
It's just like it was a full-on ride, and now we're back in the self-love, back into that center, back into that feeling of well-being. But gee, it was full on. And how was your experience?
Oh, well, totally full on. And the funny thing is, as I said at the beginning, is full on it in the whole of it. So at the same time as I've been experiencing a lot of new stuff, and that is something that's been happening for a long time. So as I've shared before, and we've shared, there's always something new each day. There's always a new experience, always something I'd never done before. That's a common ground, but I sort of was invited, and the thing is, the invitation already it came a few months ago, around about March or April or something, but I never thought it would just materialize so fast. Like, yeah, okay, right, you said yes, so let's go ahead. And so I'd felt to start creating a really beautiful, magical, kind of fairy-like forest. And that was the first thing. And then, okay, so now that you're at it, why don't we add a few constructions where if you can hold your individual retreats, because I host individual retreats, and that, but where you can also just be, instead of being in the house, you can be in these different places, beautiful places. Okay, so now you're at it, why don't we just create a live art gallery,
Oh, wow.
a live art gallery that's an ongoing creation of expression of harmony and balance, which is the signature of all of this thing. And okay, and it starts gaining shape, and then I invited some friends. Me and Joanna invited. Joanna is my buddy and my partner in passion and all that, and we spend most of our time together. Anyway, so we invited these friends for lunch one day, and then this friend of ours says, there's going to be this natural construction workshop and that. And we had been waiting to do that, to learn it. Like for a few years, we'd been thinking, oh, it would be so nice to learn how to make natural constructions, bio-construction it's called. And then it's right at the beginning of August. And as you might remember, I said August was the month I was not going to be doing any work with clients, right? Yeah, so that was the whole, so the plan was, you're not doing any work with clients because you're not going to have any time for clients because there's going to be so much you're going to be learning and so much you're going to be doing. Your life is going to take over so fully that, there's no time for clients whatsoever. So this workshop happened at the beginning of August, right here. I mean, right like 10 kilometers or 12 from my house. It was just crazy. And it's a couple of architects, a young couple that are super passionate about this, and they were really good teachers and mentors, and wow, it was just out of this world. And so those 5 days were, okay, right, now we know what to do. Okay, now we look around, and I didn't have any tools, any machines, nothing, okay, now what do we need? Okay, then let's make a list, and this and this and this. And then the things just started popping up, like here and there, and but most of them for free, or someone lending us the things, or so things just started coming from all over. And it's like, okay, let's get organized. We got to go and pick up this. We got to go and pick up that. We got to go and get that. Things just started piling up, and I did buy a few tools, but not that many. Just most of the stuff just boom, just showed up. So all month we've been gathering, and then that friend of ours came here this week, and he says, oh my God, this is already all happening. I mean, how did you guys get all of this together? And wow, yeah, I can already see it all made. It's all done. He was like, yeah, this is all done. Anyway, and so it was a really intense month in terms of being in nature, because a lot of the stuff we've been doing is outside, and my swimming pool is ready. And I've been, it's just such a wonderful, beautiful swimming pool. And I enjoy it every single day, and more than once a day. And in between all of this physical work, which is also so revitalizing, and I'm so alive, it's just this, so physically alive, and so enjoying the creatorship, and the creatorship happening with such ease and grace. And then on the other hand, all of a sudden I was informed, okay, well, now because we're doing all of this, now we have to also get everything that is not aligned out of your life. Everything that is not aligned with this, with the you that is expanding and growing into even more, with this, all of this creation, everything needs to be adjusted. And and it's been like incredibly crazy, and I've had a few emotional shocks that were really, really shocking. I hadn't been through stuff like that for years, not that intense, and whoa, I was just swept off my feet. Went all the way through even creating an aspect, a despair aspect, and then integrating it in the same day, and going through all the emotional turmoil. And I might still share a bit of the story, but not right now, but just to say that all of the emotional turmoil and just being with it, and the good thing of being where we are at, I feel, and as you said, is the turmoil is there. It can be absolutely so excruciatingly painful, yet I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't need to avoid it. I just stay there 100% of the time until I walk through it. And that makes it incredibly amazing to experience and to witness, like the difference between really completely going out of any kind of sense of balance, and now going out of balance for a few hours and then starting to get back into balance, and knowing that there's going to be more waves of that because of the whole context, and knowing that when the waves come, yeah, okay, right, now let's just stay, and witnessing the whole turnaround, and knowing that I'm still in the middle of a huge reshifting, reshaping, recalibrating of everything in my life to adjust to this new expansiveness that I have said yes to, just like you. And that it was like, before it was like, yeah, this is all so beautiful and nice, and now it's like, boom, completely sweep you off your feet. But this is what you asked for, because you asked for even more of the wholeness here and now. And this is it. This is what it feels like. This is what it tastes like. This is what it looks like. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace it. So going through, I would say, not necessarily resentment or anything like that. No, that hasn't been there. But observing how emotion can come so strong, and how you can just move through it without getting caught up in it, and come back to the sense of essence, to the sense of, yes, this is it, and receiving all of that guidance from within, moment to moment, knowing what to do and where to go, which is the big difference from what it used to be many years ago. If anything really strong came up, and it was like this confusion, and didn't know how to get out of the confusion, and the confusion took loads of time to digest, and couldn't see anything because it was all foggy. And then now it's totally the opposite. There is no fog, there is no confusion, there is just whoa. And so it's like the whole, without wanting to name dark and light, but the whole, the whole sphere of everything is just wide open. Okay, now to walk into the new. So I've had new happening all the time, even before all of this, but now it's new beyond the new I've ever known before anyway. So that's what it's been like for years anyway. But now you're ready to go even further in that, and to really sweep out of the way a few things that were just there because it didn't really bother you much, but now it's gonna bother you, and so now you're gonna have to sweep it out of the way and just move on. Oh, it's been incredibly intense, I can tell you.
Incredibly, yes. Incredibly intense. The same here. Like for a very, very long time, it hasn't been like this. And just like you, I've also made some decisions prior to that. Like, okay, we go into the next level, I said yes, and then
yeah.
and then, okay,
that's it. Before I was choosing, let's do it. Let's do it.
To the next level. But there's just so much to experience with this, and this way of living it, I find that it's really you walking always with that knives and on the knife's edge. It's not, and it's
innocently
innocently on a knife's edge, but it's and that fire, and like a volcano, it's always there. And that's, I think, what we had to, like, I have to keep getting used to that kind of, because this presence of the soul self, it kind of came in incrementally, a bit, and then a bit more, and then a bit more. But when it kind of comes like in full on up to now, who knows how much more full on it's going to be in a couple of years time, but it really it is a creation itself. So creation itself includes, like, the molten lava. It's like when all of the planets are being born, when the stars are being born, they're quite a full-on processes in there. And so it's always like this part that I can always sense, that craziness, that chaos, that void, that but also the destructive nature of that. Because, like, if we look at, like, within nature, there is a birth and there is also destruction. And it's like we were talking about that
Mm.
Kali, and I
Yes.
feel that has
Oh,
to
that's
do with
it.
that feminine nature. The feminine
Mm-hmm.
nature, why it's been so feared. I used to think that, oh, because it's so nice and gentle and loving, but it is because it has that ability to give birth, to bring life
Yes.
within. And that word I'm talking about, not to do with a human being, but with every person, whether you're a
Mm-hmm.
male or a female in this or
Yeah.
any lifetime. But our nature, that is this feminine, has this Kali, which is the giver of birth, but it's also a destroyer. It destroys and starts again, and again it
Yes.
destroys and gives birth again. So there is this gentleness in it, but it is not like a faint flower. Flowers are not faint. Flowers are beautiful, but how much courage does it take to be this kind of fine, beautiful creation within this roughness of this world? And yet the
Yeah.
flower can grow, like you can have a volcano and lava, and perhaps a little beautiful flower, gentle flower can grow there. That's nothing gentle about it, really.
Yeah.
So there is all of these kind of forces within us, that are at play. And like playing with fire, it really is playing with fire. And at the same time, because of I feel, because it's been year after year after year of training, of going through the boot camps, spiritual inner boot camps, I feel like I can deal with it, like I can
Mm-hmm.
deal with this kind of intensity, and I can deal whatever happens, because underneath it all, I found that regardless of whether this Pandora's box of darkness or light or whatever opens up, there is trust
That's
between the
it.
human self and
Mm-hmm.
between the soul self. And it is on that trust that we can work through anything, we can experience anything. And it's not anymore that any kind of drama can sweep that human part onto the side. Because let's say if I experience that, like you said, before, I could have had lifetimes of war, lifetimes
Mm-hmm.
of desperation, lifetimes of despair, lifetimes of God knows what. But now
Yeah.
it's like when those kind of feelings or emotions, they come, like I've got this solidity underneath it all, which is based on trust, which is based on mutual way of working things out on the inside. I'm talking about in the inner world, and that I can then work through. And it helps all of those things that I've created within myself, because every person is different. But how you construct yourself, it really works. Like for me, for example, I think I've mentioned it before, I have this garden space that looks like a Spanish, or like could be Spanish garden, the one with walls, and you go in and you got beautiful flowers and fountains and things. And this is where I want to swear and cuss and be pissed off and be really angry. This is where I go. So I say, so bye, stay away. And then I go and I swear and swear every swearing word I have. I swear. And then I'm like, okay, now we're ready again. Done.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Before, it was just this foul language that comes out.
Mm.
And it's okay, because it's again this part of that volcano that, like, however, it's that freedom of expression without going out in the physical world and taking it out on someone or hurting someone, or and so it's really different how we construct. Another thing that has helped me a lot is that, again, I've allowed Archangel Michael to reform within
Mm.
myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
everywhere that I've traveled in all of these emotional, I'm like, okay, dear Archangel, we're going together. And then we were sort of talking, and sometimes he would go first, and then, oh yeah, it's okay, but I know that it's all oneness of me, and yet there is
Mm-hmm.
the manyness of me. And and this freedom to construct with my inner world as to what works for me at any time has been invaluable. And it's not even something that I thought about with the mind. It just, this thing just arises within me, because this flow happens, so it naturally, things arise within me, whatever that I will need most, in that time. And it just, all of a sudden, it's like, oh wow, look at this, I didn't feel alone. And it's actually fun, because I love having these kind of funny conversations, it's like, because I'm very theatrical inside, so it's like, oh, poor me, or something like this. I just play in this kind of way, and for me it's fun. And it's just my normal nature is like that, because
Mm-hmm.
within the world, I've had to sort of be more serious in the serious business world and the jobs and all of that and whatever have you. And just in everyday life, if you did that in everyday life, it would be funny. But on the inside of me, you can. I mean, in the movie and in this kind of world, you can do whatever you want, and all of these parts of self gets this incredibly beautiful expression. So that's one thing. And then another thing I wanted to say, with your incredible, playing with the earth and creation and all of that and building, that I was actually just pondering about that the other day, when I was thinking of you and how I saw you posted some pictures on Facebook. And that it reminded me of all of this, like male and female. And I know that
Yeah.
it's not very fashionable to sort of talk in certain on inner masculine and inner feminine, but for me they've kind of come back again. And not in a
Definitely.
separate way, but in
Mm-hmm.
just how can I say that, in a more immediate way and in a more appreciative way. And I've
Mm-hmm.
realized that, as a woman, all of this, because I too have I did my own renovations, and I did all of,
Mm.
in the past. So I did everything. I did tiling, grouting, I pulled out carpets, and I put the floating floor, just me,
Mm.
and I'd go to
Yeah.
this store and
And
talk to
get the
the,
stuff.
yeah, get the resources, and talk to
Mm-hmm.
tall guys there, and they say, oh, you poor lady, better get someone. And it might take you a few days to do that. It's very hard. And then it took me
And
15
then,
minutes to
right, the thing, that's the thing, is like, oh my God, it's just so much easier than it seems when we see someone else doing it.
physical work. It's hard physical work. And
It
I wouldn't
is.
do it every day, and then there's such a satisfaction once you do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you sit there for days and just look at it and admire
Yeah,
it,
and say, oh my God, I did it. I did it.
I remember one time I was grouting bathroom, and on the knees and dirt and
Yeah.
lots of tears too. It's not easy to
Yeah.
go through the whole process. It's like, oh, why did
No,
that
it's
take me
it
so
goes
long?
up and down. It's like while you're in the middle, it's like, oh
Oh,
my God, this is hard.
this is
Why
bloody
did I get
hard.
myself into it? But then it starts getting easier and easier, and then
Yes,
you
yeah,
once it gets easier, and
yeah,
then you finish, and then
yeah.
yes, yes.
And it's that incredible intimacy with your world or with your
Mm.
place, because you know every little corner of your place,
And you can
because
go
you
wrong a
painted
hundred
it. Yeah,
times.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it has to do, like for me, it had to do with allowing the masculine self to be
Definitely.
part of me. And so I guess for a male, if you're a male in this lifetime, so for you it would be something that is traditionally associated with women, that women do,
Yeah.
that like, but it's just allowing that for me was that allowing that masculine to to be, not to birth it because it already was
It
there,
already
but it
exists.
was just to be part of this life. And you know, even though I'll never be as strong physically as in this
Of
body as a
course,
male, and
that's
it
not the
has nothing to
point.
do with that. Yeah,
No.
so it's just allowing. And for me now, to sort of like, it's even looking at different way at relationships. For example, I had just recently I had a relationship with a guy for about 6 months, and it was so different because I didn't feel like I have to pretend to be just a halfling, you know, this half,
Mm-hmm.
just a feminine. And but it needs the
Halfling.
kind, a halfling, I call it a halfling.
I
Yeah, you're
love
a
it.
halfling. I want to be a whole, not a halfling, you know.
Yeah.
And so that boys, and it was really wonderful to be also like allow my masculine to be part of that, and not
Mm-hmm.
expect, put all of that, you know, suppress that within me, and put all of these expectation and pressure on the other person. And it was just so beautiful, and it is just such a freedom of it's just such an incredible freedom and intimacy, because there's no need to pretend. We can support each other in all different ways, you know. And yeah, anyway, so it's a huge exploration into relationships, into how to relate in this new way. But yeah, so I guess that, because you mentioned the
And the
masculine, that
interesting,
might be
yeah, it's
part of.
it's great that you're mentioning it because it's been all about the masculine.
Mm,
Actually, all of the challenges I've had throughout the whole month of August, the whole month of September is all about the masculine. And it's interesting because it's been, I have come to harmony with masculine within myself a long time ago. But an interesting thing is that my mom is aging, and she's not so into taking care of stuff. And because I'm living in this, well, it's not the same house because there's two houses which are in one, but I live in the same place. And but she's been away for most, like since May, for most of the time. So I've been the one who's been around taking care of everything and that. And then all of a sudden I've been brought to the front of taking care of absolutely everything that was not in order in terms of the masculine, precisely. And my mother has this huge thing with the masculine. She always had the this saying, you know, men are worthless, useless, this and that and the other. And I did all of my inner work in terms of really letting that out of myself, and that's completely out of it. And so now, because in a sense all of this belongs to me, because I'm gonna inherit it sooner or later, it's like, okay, now you're gonna have to balance everything that's out of balance in all of the estate. And so there's different houses, different shops, different places, and problems came up with all of the masculines in all of those places, and I had to step into all of the situations and align them, all of them. It was simple to align them. The funny thing is like everything came at once, like align this, align that, align that, align that. And all with masculine, with all of the masculine figures in my own personal life and in my mom's life as well. So it's like, yeah, now you just get to align the whole thing, because since you're cleaning up all of the ancestral karma and everything that I thought, okay, it's done. No, wait a minute, there's still this little bit to clean up, and to clean up in the sense of clean up the separation, remove all of the separation, remove all of the mistrust, all of the abuse, all of the manipulation,
mm,
all of whatever is going on behind the scenes. You're gonna remove it completely from there. And so all of the relationships have started to smooth out one way or another. Either they just get out of my life, or they become very smooth and simple and balanced, and everything comes into shape. But it's totally been about aligning the masculine in all of my reality, because there were many places where it was not reflecting the inner masculine, because in my inner masculine there is this not there is not this separation between feminine and masculine. And as the Kali, she rose, Jesus, she rose like oh my God, it's
Jesus,
like
she rose.
yes,
Oh,
Jesus,
Jesus.
she rose crazy gigantic, you know? It's like,
Mm.
whoo! I felt her rising inside of me. Gigantic, like gigantic, really. So and the outside reflection of my inner masculine, who is in harmony with her, has to align with all of that. So it's been like, it's and but the funny thing is, you know what, is like the level of focus and capacity to organize, to delegate, and to really get everything into its rightful place, I would say, has been. I amaze myself. Like, Jesus, how did I manage? How did I manage to get all of that done in that short time span and with such laser focus? So there's been complete laser focus, and the sword has been very active. But the Archangel Michael's kind of sword. There's been so much compassion, so much. The level of compassion, especially for myself, and then of course it is provided, has grown exponentially. And the enjoyment of being human in a human life, and no longer, there have never been these thoughts of, oh my God, it's so shitty to be human, why is this humanness always getting in the way, and that. No, much on the contrary, is like, yes, I love it, I love being human, and I have no second thoughts about staying here, staying on Earth, and expanding my experience of what it's like to live in reunion, what it's like to live in harmony, what it's like to live in complete balance, what it's like to live in absolute loving compassion, what it's like to experience the joy of expressing everything without having to reject any single part of my creation, and taking full responsibility for it 100% of the time. So knowing that all of these things that were not visible simply were out of sight because I had been doing other stuff, and then all of a sudden I decide to bring out my masculine into a more active kind of thing, and bam, it all shows up everywhere in my reality. Okay, so now we can balance this and this and this and this and this. That as well. Okay, 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 and that too. Yes, okay, okay, and I just keep on saying, bring it on, bring it on. That's what we're here for. Nothing else.
For me, I do. I have regularly, I ask myself whether I want to stay or not. And I take that, and it's not because really there is anything wrong with my life, I find, because I enjoy, like I have also, like you, sort of, I sometimes, like, I stop and pinch myself and I'm wondering, wow, look at what I've created. Like for me, it's this wilderness, the ability to this incredible abundance of what I desire that I have. Like I wake up in the morning and there are so many choices that I have as to where I want to go, what I want to experience, this freedom to do it, because we weren't born in that way. We were born, like I was born in a culture that was very predetermined as to what as I would have to do. So to actually look back and realize, wow, all of those choices that I've made, and very often it made me feel like there's something wrong with me, but it was actually all that was right with me, that I've made these choices. And but for me, I take it, I allow myself to always to actually walk with death. I call it now to
Mm-hmm.
walk with death. So I
Yes.
walk with death, meaning that because I don't see it in the old way anymore. I don't see it
Mm-hmm.
as an enemy. I just see it that, okay, so it's just that part of, okay, transformation. You know, I transform from one into
Yeah.
the other. And so I allow myself, so it comes often to visit me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
asked me, are you still willing to, you know, are you happy with, or not happy in the old sense, but do you want to still continue? Because then when I say yes, then I am very much committed, and I don't have any of those, you know, like the, like you said, all of those old human ways. Oh, why am I here?
Yeah.
Or, and I
That's
also find,
precisely
yeah, and
how
I
it
find,
happens for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I find myself then to say to death, I say, like, because it keeps, it also allows me to be absolutely honest with myself, because
Mm-hmm.
this presence of her, and again, that I feel like that's part of Kali, because I always, then I wake up in the morning and then my day is full, because I know that it's not going to be forever. You know, this day is very
Yeah.
unique, every day is very unique, and then I can actually, instead of filling it with things that are unimportant, or questions that are unimportant, or ponderings and thoughts that are unimportant, all these thoughts that keep flowing from the mass consciousness that are all around, I then, like you mentioned, this laser focus, I can just focus on what is important to me, what makes my heart sing, what makes me feel more free, or more whatever it is that I want to feel, you know, because all of these feelings are so much a choice in a lot of the ways that and this presence of that fire, it keeps me real, and I like to walk with fire. I don't know how I would actually walk without that fire, that presence of death anymore, because I think that people, you know, that we, people in a mass consciousness that are so afraid of these kind of real things, they sell themselves so short, because they that's why they feel they are never really alive. You know, they never really are alive within their life. They're half dead, and they compromise and do all these things that is not, the heart is not telling them to do, and so they're not invigorated, they're not alive, and they don't prioritize constantly, because you have to keep, you know, when you have so many choices, you have to keep deciding, okay, so what is it that I'm going to do today? And that doesn't mean that I always choose, you know, sometimes I just choose to stay at home and relax and not do much at all, like potter around. But that is just so enjoyable. It's not like that then makes me, oh, I have to do this and this. Not at all. But it is, the priorities are always there. It's like, is this me? Is it not me? If it's not me, okay, move it aside. Is this me? Is it not me? And I'm so aware of all of these kind of things now. And without any fear, because also like this presence of Kali, this presence of awareness of death, really are the choice and the ability to choose when to go, how. So that's why for me, I don't mind. I actually look at it as part of this journey that I, on regular basis, it's like, okay, let's look at it. Do we still want? And so far it's always been yes, we still want. And then there is this another revigorating way of living, of making choices, of doing things that perhaps in the past I never would have courage to do, because I come from a very, very different kind of, you know, the kind of space. And perhaps that has to do, like, you know, with the priorities that we've chosen. But for me, I just find it that I'm okay with walking with fire. So I do on a regular basis ask myself. So, and just again, it's just saying, you know, to people that are perhaps that are watching, is just that every person is very different. We're very unique, and how we do this, and perhaps this year we're doing it this way, the next year you'll be saying one thing and I'll be saying another, you know, like that it's always coming back to self, always coming back to the inner self, inner voice. And other people can say all these wonderful things, and you can learn all these wonderful things, but it's always coming, you have to come back to self and follow the inner prompts and the inner desires and the inner guidance and the inner voice, where it's sort of telling you to go and how to express and what to, like it. There is so much self guidance, and you just can't get lost. Like this whole universe opens inside of you, and yet you are less lost. I'm less lost than ever, and yet I have so much space. And I sometimes have a giggle because, like sometimes I wonder, how do people think that they can get lost? How do you get lost?
Yeah.
Even in the world, like, how do you get lost? You can't get lost
Yeah.
because even like on the road, or I must say, I don't have a GPS in my car. I pull out all the electronics. I'm very big. It's funny because in some way I'm very electronically, I like to be ahead with some things, but other things like GPS and stuff like that, I've actually got rid of. So, like especially a mobile phone doesn't work when you go out of town anyway, it doesn't have any signal, so that's okay. But and the reason being, I've done that even like I say 10 years ago. I would probably use it if I was in a city because that's a different thing. But because I've instead practiced my own inner feeling and my own inner guidance, where it's guiding me, which road it's telling me where to go to. That was a big part of that boot camp training that I had. And it was about big, and about 10 years ago was really huge. That I've taken out all of those technical things, and I just go, and I don't even need it, but I just go without all of those things, because these are the things that I found that you have to learn how to listen to your inner guidance in all of these ways. And as you see that, then you can't get lost, and as you see that, then this inner guidance guides you around the road closures and storms and all of these kind of things. Then this incredible trust then can develop, and this incredible inner safety develops, because you just know that wherever you are, I can just be peaceful there, and I can just enjoy what, while I'm there. So yeah, that's my experience with that.
Yeah, walking with death is actually something that I was so happy to be able to embrace and allow already some years ago, and since death has become a really special friend, the fear of it, of course, disappeared, and it's there all the time. That's why I'm so sure that I'm not going anywhere right now, because I'm just fine with being here, because it's constantly present, and it's present in all possible ways. Not only in constantly being aware of, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this, it's perfectly fine, there's no need to go anywhere. So yeah, just death is here in all other ways, like in things that end, um, things that transform, etc. The destructive nature of Kali is constantly showing up, and it is intense, yes, but on the other hand, so liberating and enhancing and enlightening, and that fire of transformation is constantly moving. But an interesting thing about death is that one of my greatest challenges around it was, until about, I would say, until I was about almost 40, um, I had this very strong suicidal aspect that would come along anytime, whenever things were getting a bit tough and so on, and would come along and say, yeah, let's go, and so on and so forth. And it was just a bugger. It was there so often. And until some moment, I just looked at it and smiled and realized, thank you so much. You've been trying to provide me with an escape route, but I don't need it anymore. Thank you. And it was integrated. And from the moment it was integrated, then it became a part of me, in the sense that death is just permanently there. Just like life. I mean, there is no separation, just like the feminine and the masculine within are the whole thing. Death is just that constant companion that is intrinsic and an integral part of life and cannot be dissociated, just like the in-breath and the out-breath cannot be separated from each other. So it's even a comfort to know that death is here all the time. So once it becomes a part of the whole, it is a gift of allowing life to just progress in the flow naturally and simply. However, it's interesting to realize that in dealing with death of loved ones, for instance, I do realize, and I have recently realized within myself, that yes, if or when a loved one departs, it is painful and it has its mourning process, and that is perfectly fine. And that doesn't mean that we're not embracing death and that it is not accepted. It just means, yeah, okay, just let's die as well. Because a part of us dies as well with that person. And if we allow that death, we come out on the other side rebirthed. So this, and I'm sharing this just because it is something that is a really relevant thing probably for many people. And I realized this for myself as well. It's not about us trying to be enlightened and to not be human about the fact that, yes, losing a loved one, in terms of losing in the sense that, you know, that person is not going to be there every day, or you're not going to see each other anymore in this earthly realm in the way it was. It has its natural consequence. It is something to be mourned. But if you die with that person within that, then on the other side you find the love and the life of the whole, of the physical one that has departed, and of the spiritual one that is and that will also depart. Because if that loved one does go ahead further on their journey, they will stop being with you sooner or later, and they will not be there all the time and forever. That is a bit of an illusion that sometimes people create, and I've lived that also with my grandpa many years ago when he departed, and he's no longer around. But he was with me for a long while, and was really a great support. Speaking of the masculine, he was my real father figure. Um, and he's no longer there because I know he's moved on into whatever. He's no longer him. I mean, he no longer is whoever it is. And but that's once we are able to die with that person who was within us, and to then from the ashes of that death rise in the flames of love and life, to choose whether we're gonna stay here. Then if we're gonna stay here, we're gonna stay here really alive, and that is honoring that journey that we had together, and it is honoring ourselves as well, in continuing this journey with the whole of who we are, and knowing that this is just the same as integrating an aspect, really. It's exactly the same thing. So death has been with us, this really, really best friend, especially within integration. And one of the greatest fears of aspects is precisely the fear of death, because an aspect knows that the moment it is fully embraced, it will disappear. But of course, it is still afraid many times of dying, because if one feels that, is because we are not fully sure whether we're ready to die with it, in the sense that whether the part of the identity that we were with that aspect in motion is ready to really subside and transform and transmute in the phoenix of the new you that is born from that integration. So it's, if anyone listening does feel a fear of death and all that, it's fine. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. These are aspects, and the aspects are the ones that carry the fear of death. And so just as you go along your journey of integration, it just goes lower and lower and lower, and as you then really die, in terms of, I couldn't care less what the human me thought it wanted. The only thing I am here for is to completely, continuously surrender to being the human facet of the spiritual soul, or whatever you want to call it, that chose to be this. And that's it. So that's a constant discovery of, who's Tanya? I have no idea. I keep on discovering that, and I keep on loving it, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. If one day I'm not loving it anymore, it's fine. I will just transmute into my non-physical self, and that's it. But even the question which triggered us in the first place, which was, who am I, disappears, because that becomes completely irrelevant in this friendship with death, in this marriage within.
Yeah, completely. And it's unanswerable, isn't it? And it's
It is totally unanswerable.
It's pointless,
yes.
because sometimes, like, I sort of, like, when I feel, when I'm breathing and feeling myself, and I'm thinking, my gosh, I'm so weird. And I don't mean weird in the old way, that, but it's just like, it's just unknowable, not
Yes.
knowable. And the more I'm allowing all of these boundaries between self and self to disappear, the more weird from an old human perspective it is, because you move into, and it's just okay. It's kind of like an exploration of who I am, so it's
Yes.
like, oh my God, like I never knew. And,
Yeah. It's like, we had a retreat, as I said, we do it's called Impassioned Breath Weekend. It's an individual retreat in which we have one or two people, but they are catered for individually. But so we had one person, one man, interestingly enough, at the beginning of September. It was the theme that came up for him was actually enlightenment and everything around it throughout the lifetimes. It was the most beautiful experience, and I'm so grateful to this friend. I'm not going to name him just because I don't know if he minds. But so funny thing is, at the end of, we ended the retreat at my house. And then, when it ended, he just stayed along here, because he went in the pool and was enjoying my garden and all of that. And I was into painting my son's room. So I said, I'm just gonna get ready and go into painting. And so I just got my painting gear on, and I put a swimming cap on my head, because I didn't want my hair painted, because I'm not just the best with the paint thing, and it splatters all over the place. And then said, just let me put this in. So when he came as to say goodbye, he comes in the room and he, gee, that is being practical. That is really like, you've just finished a whole thing with so many integrations around the theme of being a master, a guru, and so that was the big theme throughout the whole thing for him. And now you're here wearing wearing these clothes all full of paint, and it's just, yeah, how practical can you get that? And I was afraid of being crazy. He says, you know, yeah, well, now I see I don't need to be afraid at all, because we just, you know, just become so used to being weird me. One day Joanna and I came from that workshop I told you about, and we were filled with clay head to toe, like, you know, even our face we had painted fit the clothes and everything, and we wanted to go on to the takeaway to buy some food. And so we just went, you know, just the way we were. The girl that was behind the counter just she was so like, she didn't even know what to say the first few minutes, and I'm like, yeah, we look strange, don't we? Don't worry, it's okay, I understand you, I told her. And then she started smiling and said, oh yes, oh, and then she, of course, served us, and then at the end she says, oh, I'm so sorry that I had that reaction. Oh, you don't need to apologize. It's fine. I know it looks really strange for someone looking the way we do to come into a restaurant to buy food, and that, you know, it's fine. Just don't be concerned about it. But the thing is, we just don't mind being weird anymore.
No, that's the thing. You can just go and do and be yourself. And even when some silly things happen, you know, it doesn't really matter. But this weirdness, it's even like the inner weirdness, like it's just even in a different way. It's just who I thought of myself that I was as a human. It's very, very different because of all of these feelings and the way I perceive myself. It's just undescribable. So most often, you know, you can't really describe who you are. So that question, who am I? It's pointless, because you would just go onto this crazy goose chase, you know, and for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, you can ask yourself. And now the reasons is just more like, okay, this gentle exploration in this way. And also I wanted to touch, you know, when you were talking about this death of a loved one, I've loved when my mother moved on. I've decided to do it all in a very natural way. So I used to go into very empty spaces and I would just honor her and cry and all sorts of things, whatever I needed to feel, I felt. And I could relate to what you were saying. You know, there is this part of self that will never be engaged ever again, that has to also dissolve, that was engaged, that was invoked or relating to the mother, for example. And that grief was so beautiful in this way. It's very intense but incredibly beautiful, because it shows that I've loved deeply, you know. So there is such a you know, I work I have, like I mentioned a few times, that every couple of weeks I do 3 short shifts in a mental health crisis line. And there is such a desire of people to, because they don't know how to deal with this, or they don't want to deal with more difficult, intense emotions, to numb. So they keep taking substances and medications to numb and numb. And so that's why I wanted to really feel and experience all of the things that happen with this grief. And it is just such beautiful river where it takes you, and such, you feel such poignant things, and you find out about yourself and you find out about the other person. And yes, you have to let them go. And I've decided at that time that I'm going to give myself 3 days, because now we're so aware. I'm aware of the spirit world, so I could hear her. I could hear her calling me. I
Mm.
could feel her presence. But I said, okay, so for 3 days, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do a ritual where I do say goodbye to her, because I know that she has to move on. And this
Yeah.
is relevant. Why it's relevant for many who are listening to this is because in this lifetime, you, and each one of us
Everyone.
listening, we are breaking the chains of ancestry, and we are breaking the relationship interactions, family interactions, because yeah, this enlightenment or realization, however you want to call it, it means coming into your sovereignty. So you no longer have those bonds of those, all of those ancestral bonds finish. They cut, they destruct, they melt, whatever. And because
Mm-hmm.
you're coming into this sovereign space. And so it was for me very that year where I was really grieving, it was such an incredible way to really notice all of these things, how it was breaking the bonds, how like my own inner energy, how it works was changing, how it was coming into the sovereignty, how I was letting go of this dependence of my on my ancestry, and redirecting that dependence on my inner resources, on my inner soul. So where I used to depend on ancestral things, now, it comes into, okay, I depend on
Mm-hmm.
myself, I depend on my soul self. So it was a huge experience with this, and it was incredibly beautiful. And it was also beautiful because I know who my mother reincarnated as, and she's
Wow.
actually decided, she hasn't realized herself, but quite close, but she's decided to sort of do it in a different, so to continue still that
Mm-hmm.
reincarnational sort of side. And so we're not, that bond of we've done so many adventures together has also had to be let go of. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
grief on so many different levels. And I felt that she's given me this gift in so many ways, because I was able to sort of then experience so many things. And then with another thing, I've sort of with my soul self, I'm working on more on as like being aware, giving freedom to parts of myself. And so for me, the experience of this integration of aspects has not been that they actually dissolve into the neutral as much, but more like that they become their own independent
Yeah.
facets. And
Mm.
so the aspects actually within me don't die. They just
Mm-hmm.
become aware of their own connection. Well, I'm me. I'm like this faucet, or rather not faucet, but this kind of river where the facets aspects come and they touch the soul, they touch that self-love, they become aware of it, and then they reconnect directly with that part of
Mm-hmm.
me, and then they have their own life. And so, for
Mm-hmm.
example, when, like, let's say I was talking about Archangel Michael within me, he's got his own life, like, so. And so, how can I say, it's like the original soul gave birth to me, Alex, and I was an aspect. And then through a realization, I become a facet, meaning I become sovereign. And so, me too, I have chosen to give parts of myself that I use, that are facets, in that freedom to continue. And so to transform into a facet where they actually then continue to have their own freedom, their own life, their own how can I say, their own reality, and then I can feel
Mm-hmm.
them and I can interact with them. It is still feels like my own signature. It's got a signature of my own self, my own oneness, but yet it's giving them freedom. It's allowing them to then develop. And so being present in the now moment, for me, for me, it means that all of the past and the present is here, and the future is here, but also all of these incredible parts that are now got freedom, that I've created, Alex, have created within me, and yet I haven't integrated them into nothingness, and they become their own parts. And yet I can then sort of, I don't know how to even explain this, because there's still a little bit experimentation, but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. So I kind of go for experimenting things. So I don't know, it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how other people, whether they want to comment like on our Facebooks and stuff, how they're experiencing their integration with aspects and facets. And for me, it feels like, to me, that this is what my soul has given me, this gift of being a creator, where like I too am God in this way, God in a sense that I can create these living beings within me that then become their own, and give them freedom to be who they want to be. So it's quite
Quite an experiment.
quite an experiment. So yeah, I don't know whether other people can relate to that, but I believe that there are few that also are doing this kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're all experimenting in such different ways.
Mm.
And it's always all an experiment, because we never really know the end result of anything, because it's not about end results. It's
Absolutely.
about experimenting.
That's it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, it just goes to show, like how very differently we perceive, and how it's really important not to, there aren't any single truths, like, and there aren't any finalizations. Like, I know that there's so many steps, where, okay, so now you come to this and you feel yourself that, and then you feel, but it's not the end, because we continue to be. You just realize
Right.
yourself in this bigger way, and then you choose. And I think like that now, with being this unique individualized selves, that we can choose so much more which kind of path we go, what we do, what we experience, how we relate to our inner selves. And it's going to be even more and more unique. There is, like, that time is finished of the sameness, everyone being the same, and everyone, this is one truth and that's it, and everyone trying to conform to that. It's the field becomes wide open. You can do whatever the hell that you want to do. And entertain yourself and experiment and feel, and yes.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
see I'll see if there are any questions for us anywhere.
No, well,
No.
not here on Zoom. Maybe other places. But yeah, I think we're coming full circle with today's
Mm-hmm.
sharing. It's been so different, I would say, from others, and because we are different, and we are always different, and we're always becoming something new. And that is why it's impossible to answer the question, who am I? I am. And there
That
is
I am.
no, exactly, and there is nothing else to add to it. And so for me, I feel that we've wrapped this up really
Mm-hmm.
beautifully, and it is, like, I would say, the first part of two episodes, because next time we'll eventually for sure expand on what we've shared today. I have this sense that it's like this is the first part, next part comes
What,
comes
because
next month.
we already have a title for next one. What is it? Wild human or something?
Yeah, the wild ride
Oh,
of the
wild ride.
human.
Oh my God.
And it's on the
Do
on
we
the
dare?
8th of October.
Yes, very early, but do we dare to give ourselves this kind of title? Because we're gonna have to experiment it.
Yeah, well, but because we're already on it, right? It's
It's
fine.
wild, right?
And that's why maybe we all of a sudden we're booking the date is very early on
Early.
from now, so that it's sort of okay, let's wrap it up, move on.
See, I was seeing these pictures of us, all of us running wildly with the wolves, you know, and some forest and just like, ow. Oh my God. Just this, it's just like, isn't it just crazy? It's just,
It
you
is.
have to laugh things that we experience and we just
Or
have
maybe
to
we'll
laugh.
call it crazy, crazy humans.
Oh, far out. And we're going crazier, like in a good way, aren't we?
Oh, totally. Oh, gosh. Completely. We're becoming so hard to define.
Undefined. Yeah, that I am, and that's it. There's
Yeah.
nothing more to say.
Really hard to define.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have wrapped up, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, very much for playing with us and for, I can sense you guys laughing with us and also feeling these things, some in one way, others in another, in your own lives. And so it's really wonderful to feel the authenticity that's here right now with everyone who's also tuning in right now with us
Or
and who
watching
will be
later.
tuning
Yeah.
in later. Exactly. I feel the authenticity, the openness, the okay, oh, it's okay to be human then. All right, yeah, it is not only okay, it's what we're here for, though in a whole new way. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, obviously, Alexis.
Thank you, Tanya.
We're amazing together. I love you.
Exactly. Me too. I love you. And I love each and every one that interacts with us. And I have to say
Yes.
again, the people that come to our shows and also like to the individual classes, you know, and to have private sessions. I'm amazed
Everything.
at the kind of people.
Yes.
I'm amazed at you and at your uniqueness and what you're allowing, and how honest you are, and how able and so willing to change, you know, and
Yeah.
to grow and grow and to expand and open and be vulnerable. And so namaste, and enjoy and dance in your uniqueness and be wild. And until next time.
Namaste.